Ever notice how Deadpool looks a lot like Deathstroke? Or how Aquaman and Namor both rule underwater kingdoms, carry tridents, and have beef with the surface world? Or maybe how Thanos and Darkseid are both massive purple galactic warlords who believe in wiping out life to create order? Yeah, that's not a coincidence. Marvel and DC have been copying each other for decades. Not just a couple characters here and there. I'm talking about entire teams, origin stories, powers, names, and even personality traits. It's like they're in a never-ending creative tug-of-war, where one side moves and the other instantly reacts. But why? Why do the two biggest comic book publishers in the world, companies with billions of dollars and access to the greatest writers and artists in the industry, resort to borrowing ideas from one another like rival students cheating on the same final exam? Let's rewind the clock. DC Comics came first, way back in the 1930s with Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman leading the charge. They were the blueprint for what a superhero was supposed to be. Then came Marvel in the 1960s, crashing the party with flawed, emotional, and more relatable characters like Spider-Man, the Hulk, and the X-Men. Instead of gods and perfect beings, Marvel gave us angsty teens, scientists with temper issues, and social outcasts, and people loved it. What followed was a creative arms race. DC, feeling the heat from Marvel's relatable heroes, adjusted their tone and characters. Marvel responded in kind, pushing boundaries even further. This tit-for-tat evolution didn't just spark competition, it fueled innovation. Year after year, decade after decade, each publisher echoed, answered, or one-upped the other, crafting a cycle of mutual inspiration that still shapes comics today. Take the Doom Patrol and the X-Men. Doom Patrol debuted in June 1963. Freaks and outcasts, with powers they didn't want, led by a man in a wheelchair. 3 months later, the X-Men debuted. Freaks and outcasts, with powers they didn't ask for, led by a man in a wheelchair. Coincidence? Maybe. But fans have been debating it for decades. The similarities are too strong to ignore, from their themes of acceptance to their outsider status in society. Then there's Deathstroke, Slade Wilson, created by DC in 1980. A mercenary with superhuman reflexes and healing. A tactical genius who never misses a shot. Sound familiar? Marvel's Deadpool came along in 1991, named Wade Wilson. And while Deadpool started as a serious assassin, it wasn't long before Marvel leaned into the parody. Now he's the foul-mouthed, fourth-wall-breaking anti-hero we know and meme about today. His popularity skyrocketed not just because of his powers, but because Marvel made him self-aware, funny, and unpredictable. Guess what? He's way more famous than Deathstroke. It's not just characters. The entire Justice League and Avengers dynamic is mirror-like. Batman is Marvel's Moon Knight, Green Arrow is Hawkeye, The Flash and Quicksilver, Super Speed Bros. Even Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy and DC's Suicide Squad are both ragtag teams of misfits forced to save the world. It's a pattern you can't unsee once you notice it. So again, why does this keep happening? Because copying works. In comics, the line between inspiration and imitation is razor thin. These characters are constantly evolving, rebooting, crossing multiverses and dying every other summer. The companies aren't shy about it either. Sometimes they even poke fun at themselves. Marvel once made a whole comic where Superman shows up, under the name Hyperion. DC returned fire with Red Lion, a clear nod to Marvel's Black Panther. It's a game, a back and forth that never ends. And fans are in on the joke, but it's not always lighthearted. Sometimes it's about sales. In the 90s, comic book companies were obsessed with who could grab more shelf space. Popularity meant survival. So when one side had a hit, the others scrambled to create their own version. It wasn't about copying, it was about competing. Remember the Infinity Gauntlet? Marvel's cosmic-level crossover event with Thanos snapping away half the universe? DC did their own universe-breaking event with Final Crisis and Darkseid's anti-life equation. Different name, same stakes. World-ending power in the hands of a big bad guy. These were more than stories. They were publishing events designed to outsell the competition. But here's the twist. Sometimes, the copy becomes more famous than the original. Deadpool is more popular than Deathstroke. Aquaman might have beaten Namor to the theaters, but after Wakanda Forever, Namor's the one fans are talking about. And the Guardians of the Galaxy went from C-list nobodies to box office titans, leaving the Suicide Squad scrambling to catch up. Pop culture rewards the one with better timing, better execution, or better marketing. This isn't a Marvel versus DC story. It's Marvel and DC. They're like Coke and Pepsi, iPhone and Android, Batman and Iron Man. We love to compare them, pit them against each other, and argue over who's better. But deep down, we need them both. They push each other. They steal from each other. And in doing so, they've created the biggest fictional universe crossover, never officially acknowledged. So next time you see a new hero with familiar powers, or a villain who feels like deja vu, remember this. Marvel and DC are less like rivals and more like siblings, constantly fighting over the same toy box. And honestly, we wouldn't want it any other way. Because in the end, these parallels have given us some of the most iconic and beloved characters of all time. Whether they were original, inspired, or shamelessly copied, they've all contributed to the epic tapestry of modern mythology we now call superhero culture. And as long as fans keep watching, reading, and debating, Marvel and DC will keep copying. Because in the world of comics, imitation isn't just flattery, it's strategy. And here's the fun part. This rivalry isn't just between companies, it's in the DNA of their creators. Throughout comic book history, artists and writers frequently switched sides. Jack Kirby helped build the Marvel Universe with characters like the Fantastic Four and X-Men, but he later returned to DC to create the New Gods and Darkseid. You could say he carried inspiration with him. Same goes for writers like Grant Morrison and Brian Michael Bendis, who've made huge impacts on both sides. These crossovers of talent blur the lines even more. It's not always about company pride, it's about storytelling. When creators bring their styles, characters, or thematic obsessions with them, those copycat moments become inevitable. Not out of laziness, but because certain archetypes just work. Fans love them, and studios know it. Even today, as the MCU and DCU evolve into cinematic universes, this echo effect continues. Characters like Icarus, Marvel, and Superman, DC, still draw comparisons. Marvel's Moon Knight and DC's Batman both thrive in the shadows, using gadgets and dual identities. And with new studios rebooting franchises, these familiar patterns will only grow stronger. So the real question isn't who copied who, it's who told the story better.